Jennifer didn't plan to stand up that day. She had come to church like every other Sunday, quiet, composed, and trying to hold herself together. But before she knew what was happening, her hands were trembling, her heart was racing, and she was walking down the aisle with her car keys clutched tightly in her palm. By the time she dropped them on the altar, it was too late to turn back. The entire church gasped. Some people clapped, others whispered, and Jennifer smiled, even though something deep inside her felt unsettled. It had started like any normal service. The choir had just finished a powerful ministration. The atmosphere was thick with emotion. People were wiping tears. Some were still praying under their breath. Then the pastor stepped forward. His voice was calm at first, but there was a weight behind it. "Children of God," he began, pacing slowly across the altar. "This church is growing. God is doing something mighty in our midst." A murmur of agreement rose from the congregation. "We are no longer a small people. We cannot remain in this space. It is time to move forward to our Canaan land." The words hung in the air. Canaan land. It sounded big. It sounded like destiny. The pastor paused, then continued, his voice rising. "God is in the business of expansion, but expansion requires sacrifice." That word, sacrifice, landed heavily. Jennifer shifted slightly in her seat. She wasn't expecting this. "We are about to embark on a project that will require faith," the pastor said. "Not small faith, but big faith." He looked across the church, his eyes scanning faces. "This is not a project for those who give leftovers. This is a project for those who understand kingdom investment." Jennifer swallowed. Kingdom investment. It sounded important, spiritual, rewarding, but also demanding. The pastor raised his Bible. "Remember the widow who gave her last. She gave all she had, and heaven remembered her." There were nods everywhere now. People were leaning forward, listening, absorbing. "And let me tell you something," the pastor continued, his voice softer now, almost persuasive. "God is not a beggar. If you give him something small, don't expect something big in return." A few people shouted, "Yes, sir!" Jennifer felt a strange pressure building in her chest. "Those who sow into the work of God," he went on, "never remain the same. I have seen it. I have witnessed it." Then came the stories, testimonies, carefully chosen, perfectly timed. There was a woman who emptied her entire bank account as a seed. Yes, in this church. Everything she had. Gasps filled the room. Jennifer's eyes widened. "She had nothing left," the pastor continued. "Nothing. But within 3 months," he paused, "she went from zero to hero." The church erupted. People clapped. Some stood up. Others shouted praises. Jennifer felt her heart pounding faster. 3 months? That fast? "That is the God we serve," the pastor declared. "A God who multiplies. A God who rewards sacrifice." Then he stretched out his hand towards the altar. "Today, I want those who are ready to partner with God, those who are ready to sow into this vision, to come forward." And just like that, people started moving, one after the other. Some walked confidently, others hesitated before stepping out. Checks were written, envelopes were dropped, amounts were whispered. The energy in the room shifted completely. It was no longer just a service, it was a moment, a defining moment. Jennifer stayed seated. Her hands were clasped together tightly. Her mind was racing. What do I have to give? She checked her account balance mentally. Nothing meaningful. She had been managing carefully for weeks, budgeting, cutting down expenses, trying to stay afloat. She didn't have extra money. She didn't even have enough. But as she looked around, something began to stir inside her. Everyone was giving, everyone. Her role was almost empty now. People were stepping out boldly, confidently, like they understood something she didn't. And then the thought came, what if I'm left behind? Her chest tightened. What if this is the moment that changes everything and I miss it? The pastor's voice echoed again. This is not the time to hold back. This is the time to show God that you trust Him. Trust Him. Jennifer's eyes filled slightly. She wanted to trust God. She wanted her life to change. She was tired of struggling quietly, tired of watching others move forward while she stayed in the same place. She wanted more, not out of greed, but out of hope. Then the pastor said something that sealed it. If your seed does not move you, it cannot move God. Jennifer felt those words hit her like a wave. If your seed does not move you, her breath caught. What did she have that could move her? Her mind went blank for a moment. Then suddenly, her car. Her heart skipped. Her car. It was the only valuable thing she owned. She had worked hard for it, saved for years, planned everything carefully. It wasn't just a car. It was her convenience, her comfort, her dignity, her independence. But it was also something that would move her. Her hands began to shake. Is this what God wants? She didn't know. But in that moment, it felt like the answer was yes. The pressure, the atmosphere, the stories, the expectation, everything blended together. Before she could think it through, Jennifer stood up, slowly and certainly. But once she took the first step, it felt like she couldn't stop. She walked forward, each step heavier than the last. People turned to look at her. Some recognized her. She reached the altar. Her fingers tightened around the keys. For a brief second, she hesitated. Just a second. Then she dropped them, right there, on the altar. The sound was small, but the impact was loud. The pastor's eyes widened slightly. Then he smiled. A car? He said into the microphone. The church erupted, clapping, shouting, amazement. Jennifer felt heat rise to her face. Her heart was pounding wildly. She has given her car as a seed, the pastor announced. More applause, more noise. May God remember you, he declared. Jennifer nodded slightly, forcing a smile. Inside, her emotions were tangled. Fear, hope, doubt, faith, all at once. She turned and walked back to her seat, slowly, carefully, trying to hold herself together. As she sat down, she whispered under her breath, God, please don't forget me. The next morning came too quickly. Reality didn't knock gently, it crashed in. Jennifer stood outside the house, dressed neatly for work. Her handbag hung on her shoulder. Her shoes were polished. Her hair was perfect. But something was missing. Her car. She stared at the empty space where it used to be parked. Her chest tightened. For a moment, she almost expected it to appear, like maybe this was all a dream. But it wasn't. She exhaled slowly. Then she started walking. Jennifer worked at a prestigious financial firm, a place where success wasn't just expected, it was visible. Everyone drove a car, not just any car, good cars, clean cars, sometimes luxury cars. Conversations in the office often revolved around investment, stock portfolios, asset management, and smart financial planning. People talked about passive income streams, real estate deals, and long-term wealth building like it was normal. Because for them, it was. Jennifer had always blended in. She wasn't the richest, but she wasn't out of place either. until now. As she walked into the office building that morning, she felt it immediately. The difference, the shift. Her colleague, Tony, spotted her first. "Jennifer, where's your car?" he asked casually. She forced a smile. "Oh, I didn't bring it today." Tony frowned slightly. "Why? It's not like you." Before she could answer, another colleague joined in. "Don't tell me it's at the mechanic," she teased. Jennifer laughed lightly. Something like that. But deep down, her stomach was tightening because she knew this wasn't something she could hide for long. By the third day, the truth started slipping out. Someone from church mentioned it. Another person overheard. Before she knew it, the story had spread. Jennifer gave her car to the church. The reactions were mixed. Some were shocked, some were impressed, but many laughed. "You did what?" Tony asked, staring at her like he had misheard. "I gave it as a seed," Jennifer said quietly. There was a pause. Then he laughed, not harshly, but not kindly either. "Jennifer, do you know what that car represents?" She said nothing. "That's an asset," he continued. "A depreciating one, yes, but still an asset. Something you could leverage, something you could invest from. You just gave it away?" Others joined in. "You could have sold it and invested the money, or used it to start a side business, or even put it into a high-yielding savings plan." Jennifer stood there, listening. Each word felt heavier than the last, but she held her ground. "I gave it to God," she said firmly. There was silence. Then someone muttered, "I hope God gives you returns." A few people chuckled. Jennifer turned away, her throat tight, her chest heavy, but inside, she repeated it to herself. "God will bless me. He has to." Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into a month, then 2, then 3. Nothing changed. No miracle, no sudden breakthrough, no unexpected financial lift. Just the same routine. Working, enduring, hoping. And then came the day that broke something inside her. It started with rain, sudden, heavy, unforgiving. Jennifer was halfway to the office when it began. Within minutes, the road turned muddy. Her shoes sank slightly with each step. Her clothes clung to her body. But she kept walking. She had no choice. Then, a car sped past, too fast, too careless. The tires hit a puddle, and before she could react, splash. Dirty water soaked her completely, from her legs to her blouse, her bag, her face, everything. Jennifer gasped. "Hey!" she shouted instinctively. "Can't you see?" The car slowed, then stopped. Her heart was pounding as she stepped forward, angry, frustrated, embarrassed. Then she saw it, the car, her car. Her breath caught. No, it can't be. But it was. Same color, same plate, same everything. Her chest tightened as she walked closer. And then she saw the driver, the pastor's son. He rolled down the window, irritation written all over his face. "What's your problem?" he snapped. Jennifer stared at him, speechless. "Listen, next time, watch the road and stop being a nuisance." Her heart dropped. No apology, no recognition, nothing. Just annoyance. Jennifer stood there, drenched and frozen, as he drove off in her car, leaving her behind, covered in mud. And something inside her cracked. She turned slowly and began walking back home. Not to the office, not yet. She needed to clean herself. But more than that, she needed to understand what had just happened. Because for the first time since that Sunday, Jennifer felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel before. Regret. When she got to the office, Jennifer sat at her desk, but nothing in front of her made sense. The spreadsheet on her screen was open. Numbers stared back at her. Investment projections, portfolio growth charts, risk analysis columns, all the things she used to understand so well. Today, they meant nothing. Her blouse was clean now. Her hair was fixed. On the outside, she looked like herself again, but inside, something had shifted. No, something had broken. She could still feel it. The cold splash of muddy water, the sound of that car stopping the moment she saw it. And worse, the way he spoke to her. Like she was nothing, like she was in the way, like she didn't matter. Jennifer swallowed hard and stared at the screen again, but her vision blurred. Her chest tightened. She pushed her chair back slightly and rubbed her forehead. "What is wrong with me?" she whispered under her breath. But she knew exactly what was wrong. For the first time since that Sunday, she was no longer holding on to faith with confidence. She was holding on to it with questions, and those questions were loud. The office buzzed as usual. Phones rang, keyboards clicked. People moved around discussing deals, returns, and strategies. "Have you seen the new equity report? The client wants a better ROI breakdown. We need to rebalance that portfolio before the market shifts." Everything was normal, except Jennifer. She sat there, quiet, withdrawn, her mood hanging around her like a shadow. Even the people who usually joked with her kept their distance. At some point, Tony glanced at her from across the room. "You okay?" he asked casually. Jennifer nodded quickly. "I'm fine." But she wasn't, not even close. By lunchtime, it became unbearable. She needed to talk, needed to let it out. But like she had already feared, there was no safe place. If she spoke, they would laugh. If she explained, they would judge. If she opened up, she would become the office story. The girl who gave her car to church, the foolish one, the emotional one, the one who didn't understand basic financial sense in a firm where people built wealth for a living. She exhaled slowly. Then, her eyes shifted. David. He sat a few desks away, focused, calm, reliable. David was different. He didn't talk too much, but when he did, he meant it. Over time, they had grown close, not in any complicated way, just a steady, honest friendship. If there was anyone she could talk to, it was him. Jennifer hesitated, then stood up. David looked up as she approached. "You look like someone who didn't sleep," he said plainly. Jennifer gave a weak smile. "Can I sit?" He nodded. She sat across from him. For a moment, she said nothing. Then it all came out. Everything. The church, the offering, the car, the office embarrassment, the rain, the mud, the pastor's son, the insult. Her voice shook at some point. At others, it went flat. Like she was trying not to feel it again. David didn't interrupt. He just listened, quietly, carefully, until she was done. There was silence, a long one. Then David leaned back slightly and looked at her. His expression had changed, not soft, not sympathetic, sharp, direct. "You're a fool." The words landed hard. Jennifer blinked. "What?" "You're a fool," he repeated, calm but firm. Her chest tightened. "David." "No, listen," he said, leaning forward now. "You didn't give because you were led. You gave because you didn't want to feel left behind." Jennifer opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Because deep down, she knew. He continued. "Everyone stood up, so you stood up. Everyone gave big, so you wanted to give big. That wasn't faith, that was pressure." Jennifer looked down. Her fingers tightened across each other. David's voice softened slightly, but his words didn't. "You work in a financial firm, Jennifer. You understand value, you understand assets, you understand long-term decisions. Yet, you walked into a place and made the most emotional financial decisions of your life in under 10 minutes. Each sentence felt like a mirror, and Jennifer couldn't look away. "They didn't force you. David added. But they created the atmosphere that pushed you. Jennifer's eyes filled slightly. I thought, she started quietly, I thought God would bless me. David shook his head. God doesn't reward pressure, and He doesn't reward confusion. Silence fell again. Then he asked a question she wasn't ready for. Where's your car now? Jennifer's throat tightened. She didn't answer, but he already knew. With the pastor's son, right? She nodded slowly. David let out a short breath. Then he said it. Go and collect your car. Jennifer looked up immediately. What? Go back to that church and collect your car. Her eyes widened. That's not possible. Why not? I gave it, she said, her voice rising slightly. It's already done. David shook his head. No, you handed over an asset for a purpose, a building project. If that was the purpose, they should have sold it and used the money. Jennifer froze. That thought. She hadn't fully processed it like that. They didn't sell it, David continued. They reassigned it. That's different. Her heart began to beat faster. So go back, he said firmly, and take back what is yours. Jennifer shook her head quickly. No, I can't do that. It will look bad. David leaned closer. You know what looks worse? She didn't answer. You walking in the rain while someone else drives your car and insults you. That hit hard. Jennifer looked away, her emotions rising again. I don't think they will give it back, she said quietly. David didn't hesitate. Then go and find out. That evening, Jennifer stood outside the church gate. Her heart was pounding. Her palms were slightly sweaty. She took a deep breath, then walked in. The pastor received her in his office. Warm smile, calm posture, the same voice she had trusted. Jennifer, my daughter, he said. Good to see you. Jennifer forced a small smile and sat down. Thank you, sir. There was a brief silence. Then she went straight to it. Sir, I came to talk about the car. The pastor nodded slowly. Yes, a powerful seed. Jennifer swallowed. Yes, sir. Her hands tightened slightly. I would like to take it back. The air in the room shifted instantly. The pastor's expression didn't change immediately, but something in his eyes did. What do you mean? He asked calmly. Jennifer gathered her courage. I didn't fully think it through, and I need it for work, for my daily life. The pastor leaned back slightly. Then he smiled, but this time it wasn't warm, it was measured. Jennifer, he said, when you give to God, you don't take it back. Her heart dropped. I understand, sir, but... No, he interrupted gently. Let me explain something to you. He picked up his Bible. What you gave was not to me. It was not to the church. It was to God. Jennifer's chest tightened, and the moment it leaves your hand, he continued, it becomes sacred. She felt something rise inside her. But sir, it doesn't matter how it is used, he added. The purpose is that you gave. Her voice trembled. But it was meant for the building. The pastor shook his head. You are focusing on the wrong thing. Jennifer stared at him. The blessing is in the giving, not in what happens after. Her throat felt dry. So, I can't have it back? The pastor's voice was calm. Once something is given to the Lord, it cannot be reclaimed. Jennifer sat there, still, silent. Something inside her sank, deep. Then she stood up slowly. Thank you, sir, she said softly and walked out. When she got back to the office, David didn't even need to ask. They refused, he said. Jennifer nodded. He exhaled. You were too soft. Jennifer frowned slightly. What do you mean? You were there politely, respectfully, carefully. Yes. And they dismissed you, he said plainly. Jennifer looked away, her chest tightening again. David leaned forward. Go back. She shook her head immediately. No. Yes. "This is not something you beg for," he said. "This is something you demand." Jennifer hesitated, her mind racing. "They won't listen." David's voice dropped. "Then make them listen." She looked at him, confused. "How?" He held her gaze. "Go back, record everything, and if they still refuse," he paused, "post it." Jennifer's eyes widened. "Online?" "Yes, online." "That's too much." "No," David said firmly. "What's too much is what they did." Jennifer's heart was pounding again, faster this time, louder, scarier, but also clearer. The next day, she went back. This time, she didn't go with hesitation. She went with resolve. Her phone was already recording before she stepped into the pastor's office. Everything felt sharper. Her voice, her thoughts, her presence. "Sir," she said firmly, "I came for my car." The pastor looked at her. This time, there was no softness in her tone, only clarity. The conversation that followed was tense. Words clashed, scriptures were quoted, excuses were layered. But Jennifer didn't back down, not this time. And when it was clear that the answer was still no, she did what David said. She posted it. By the next morning, everything changed. The video was everywhere. People were sharing it, commenting, arguing, calling out, "Return her car. This is wrong. Church is not a place to exploit people." The pressure built quickly, faster than anyone expected. Even other pastors got involved. Voices rose, calls were made, and suddenly, the same situation that seemed impossible began to shift. 3 days later, Jennifer stood outside the church again. When the pastor finally handed over the keys, after pressure, after calls, after everything had gone public, she expected relief, maybe even joy. But as the keys dropped into her palm again, she just stood there, quiet, looking at them. It felt heavier than before. The church compound was unusually silent that day. No one greeted her the way they used to. No, "God bless you." No warm smiles, just glances, quick ones. Some disapproving, some curious, some annoyed. She could feel it, the shift. To them, she was no longer the faithful giver. She was now the one who embarrassed the church. Jennifer didn't say anything. She just turned and walked away. When she sat in her car again for the first time, she didn't start the engine immediately. Her fingers rested on the steering wheel, still, thoughtful. This same car she had dropped so easily, the same car she had watched drive away from her, this same car that splashed mud on her body. Now, it was back, but something inside her had changed irreversibly. At the office the next day, the atmosphere was different. People had seen the video, of course they had. It had spread too far, too fast. Even Tony didn't joke this time. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Jennifer nodded. "I am." And for the first time in days, she meant it. David walked up to her desk later. He didn't smile, didn't say, "I told you so." He just looked at her. "You got it back?" Jennifer nodded yes. There was a brief pause. Then he said something she didn't expect. "Good, but don't let this end there." She frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" David leaned on the edge of her desk. "You got your car back, but did you get your sense back too?" Jennifer didn't respond immediately because that question went deeper than everything else. That evening, Jennifer drove home slowly. No music, no distraction, just her thoughts. She replayed everything, the service, the pressure, the stories, the moment she stood up, the applause, the regret, the humiliation, the anger, the fight to get it back. And one truth kept rising above everything else. Nobody forced me. That realization sat heavily in her chest. Yes, there was pressure. Yes, there was manipulation. Yes, there were words designed to push her. But at the end of the day, she stood up, she walked forward, she dropped the keys. And that truth, it hurt. But it also freed her. The following Sunday, Jennifer didn't go back to that church. Instead, she stayed home, not out of anger, but out of clarity. For the first time in a long time, she wanted to think, to understand, to separate what she believed from what she had been told to believe. Days turned into weeks. Jennifer became quieter, more observant, more intentional. At work, she began to focus again. But this time, something was different. When conversations about money came up, investment, savings, financial decisions, she paid closer attention, not just professionally, personally. She started asking herself questions she had never really asked before. Why do I give? What does giving actually mean? Does God need to be impressed, or does He want something else entirely? One evening, she sat alone in her living room with her Bible open. No pastor, no microphone, no pressure, just her, reading slowly, carefully, and for the first time, she noticed something. Giving in the Bible wasn't loud. It wasn't forced. It wasn't competitive. It wasn't about proving anything. It was willing, personal, and most importantly, it came from understanding, not fear, not pressure, not comparison. A few weeks later, Jennifer made a decision, not a public one, just a quiet personal shift. She would never give out of pressure again, never. If she gave, it would be because she understood it, because she believed in it, because it made sense in her spirit and in her mind. One afternoon at work, a junior colleague approached her. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" She nodded. "Of course." The girl hesitated. "I heard what happened about the church." Jennifer held her gaze calmly. "Yes." The girl swallowed. "I have been feeling pressure too, in my church, about giving, big giving, and I don't know what to do." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then she said gently, "Don't give what you don't understand." The girl blinked. "Meaning?" Jennifer leaned back slightly. "If your heart is confused, wait. If you feel pressured, step back. If it doesn't sit right with you, don't ignore that feeling." She paused, then added, "God doesn't rush people into decisions that will break them." The girl exhaled slowly, like something had just lifted off her. "Thank you," she whispered. Jennifer smiled softly. "You're welcome." That night, as Jennifer parked her car outside her house, she sat there for a moment, just like the first day she got it back. But this time, it felt different. There was no heaviness, no confusion, just clarity. She rested her hands on the steering wheel and smiled faintly. Not because she got her car back, but because she got something more important back. Her ability to think, to discern, to choose wisely. Jennifer stepped out of the car and locked it gently. Then she looked up at the sky, quiet, reflective, and under her breath she said, "God, next time I will listen better, not to voices, not to pressure, but to understanding." And for the first time since that Sunday, Jennifer felt at peace. Not because something was returned, but because something inside her had finally been restored. If you enjoyed this story, like and share with your friends and family. If you love stories like this, subscribe so you don't miss our next upload. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.